Two theories for the ending of Moriarty the Patriot. Hey everyone, and yeah, I have another video on our beloved Moriarty the Patriot. This time it's not an analysis, but rather a prediction on how the series may end based on its core themes. Most of this is speculation based on how the original Professor Moriarty died and the general ideas presented by the manga. Without further ado, let's begin. Before I go into my two most likely scenarios, I will rule out a third scenario. I don't believe William Moriarty will survive the series and fulfill his dream. This doesn't mean that he will necessarily lose or that he will never get to see his plan coming to fruition, but rather that I can't picture him having a total victory. You know, where he has his cake and also gets to eat it. Villains in fiction rarely win, and in the rare occasions that they do, they never survive by the end of the series. Plus, there is all this death imagery around William, but we will talk about this later. Theory number 1. Following the original. In this scenario, Moriarty and Sherlock face off at the Reichenbach Falls, and either one or both of them fall to their deaths. We know for a fact that they will fight around the waterfall since, well, it's right there. It's in the first page of the first chapter. But we can't be sure what will be the outcome of this. In this scenario, William has progressively become more and more unhinged. After he has plunged England into chaos, Sherlock finally defeats him and stops him once and for all. Maybe in this version Moriarty slips instead of being tackled off the cliff, and maybe Sherlock decides to save him. From this point on, all bets are off. I don't know what will happen next. This ending would work since it would provide a much needed catharsis for the audience. You know, justice and morality prevailing again, and it would prove that Sherlock is superior to Moriarty in terms of intelligence. This scenario is not perfect though, since wouldn't this be a rehash of all the previous adaptations of the final solution? Yes and no. In this scenario, just because William failed, this doesn't mean that he didn't change the lives of many people for the better. Thus, the series could encourage the audience, and even Sherlock, to contemplate on the true nature of William, and even give Moriarty the moral victory. So, for the first time, we might actually get a Moriarty adaptation which invokes positive emotions and compassion about the character. So, regardless of whether Moriarty lives or dies, in this scenario, his plans have collapsed. I would name this the lawful or the original ending, so let's check out my second and arguably more intriguing theory. Theory number 2. Moriarty's grand plan will succeed, and then he will die. You see, the previous theory I mentioned may actually prove to be too formulaic and uneventful for a series which has pulled the rug under our feet numerous times so far. Following this character around for so many chapters and then seeing him fail just doesn't feel right. But imagine how amazing and emotional it would be to see Moriarty declare his victory only to die moments later. And I hear you say, wait, so London will be destroyed? The world will be plunged to chaos? This sounds very dark. But I want you guys to remember that Moriarty's plans have layers. As I mentioned in my Moriarty vs. Sherlock analysis video, his goal is to direct reality. I have a feeling that the whole plunging London into chaos is only a part of his plan, or rather a diversion meant to conceal his true intentions. And yeah, I know that in the final chapter of A Scandal in the British Empire, he gave a pretty clear explanation of his endgame. But I just don't trust him at this point. As for the death part, both the cover of the first volume and the opening of the series invoke self-destructive and suicidal imagery. Moriarty pointing a gun to his head, and in the case of the opening, literally jumping off a building. So there's some obvious foreshadowing that this character won't make it. Could this be an attempt to mislead us into thinking his fate is sealed? And could Moriarty eventually pull off an incredible stunt at the end, escaping into the night? Abso-freaking-lutely. That would be a crazy twist, and it would subvert our expectations. But there's a certain feeling that I have that perhaps Moriarty's death may be directly linked with the success of his plan. The somber look in his face makes him seem like he knows how this is all gonna end. But I think the biggest twist of all, it would be Moriarty actually making a positive change with his death. Why would you ever call the series Moriarty the Patriot otherwise? A patriot is supposed to selflessly work towards the benefit of his country, not its destruction. So, could it be that Moriarty... Well, I'll let you think about that for yourselves. So, which one of these scenarios sounds more likely to you guys? Do you have your own theory on this? As always, don't forget to hit like and smash the subscribe button. Oh, and also hit the bell notification, guys. And if you have a cool idea on another video on the series on Moriarty the Patriot, well, write it down below on the comments. As always, have a great day, guys, and until next time, my fellow geniuses.